Hi guys, this is Mac here and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel which is called Mac Vlogs. Well, I hope it's Friday today and I have my great guest who is an international expert in law and his name is Hassan Aslam Shad. Welcome to my session, Mr. Haslam. Mr. Hassan, how are
Thank
you?
you. Thank you. I'm good, Masroor. Thank you very much for inviting. It's an honor to be here.
My pleasure. So our topic for today is international law and Pakistan politics. So give a little bit intro about yourself for my followers and my viewers to know a little bit about you and they can start connecting with you. And then we will proceed from there for the question and answers related to the topic of ours. Please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Masroor. So I'm a lawyer. I'm based out of Oman. I've been here for the past 12 years. The general area of my practice is corporate and commercial law, although international law happens to be a passion for me. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I specialized in international law. When I was in the US for my master's, I completed my master's from Harvard Law School in 2007. I was one of the first ones, from my class who chose to move to the Middle East. That's something I've been explaining for the last 12 years. People still can't get their head around that as to why I chose to come to Oman. Why did I not choose
Mhm.
to come to settle back in the US? That's a long discussion. So yeah, I mean, 12 years of practice, and then before I went for my masters, I did my law from Pakistan. The reason why I chose to come back for Pakistan was because I wanted to got a first-hand flavor of the legal system of Pakistan. And before, again, my undergraduate in law from Pakistan, I did my double degree in pre-law and political science from the US, from Michigan State University. In between, I've done a few things which I feel have helped my international law and my legal experience. I interned at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, where I worked with the president of the International Criminal Court in 2005. I was the first Pakistani to be chosen to work at the International Criminal Court. Over the years, I've written, a number of articles and opinion pieces on international law in Pakistan, highlighting the different issues that Pakistan as a state needs to consider. And I've also been involved in talk shows with different news anchors in Pakistan, creating an awareness of international law in Pakistan and trying to sort of bridge the gap that exists in understanding here. And that is why we are here today to, discuss the dots that are missing, which we can hopefully connect, in the future.
Mashallah, that's wonderful. So I'm sure all the viewers and the followers watching us would be really excited to hear your intro and the way you have presented yourself. Thank you so much for that. So let's get back to our question and answers related to our topic so that we can make this session a bit more lively and everyone can understand, learn, and know what is international law and how do you face it and how do you educate the people on that. So my first question to you, Mr. Hassan, is what is the international law and why is it relevant in today's time and age?
Right. So, Masroor, let's put it simple for the viewers so that they don't get confused. Simply put, international law is the law between nations or countries. It flows across various verticals. You have before you the United Nations Charter, which is an international treaty or an international contract that was created in 1945 to regulate the relations between countries.
Mhm.
Then you also have private contracts between countries. For example, you have agreements on trade, agreements on different aspects of private international law. So international law, in a way, is a vehicle to regulate the relations between countries of the world. The international law application may not be as as ideal as it should be, but that is because international law and politics go hand in hand. International law on its own is merely theory. The application of international law or the law between nations depends to a great extent on politics, and every country has political concerns. Every country wants to further its own agenda. It wants to have its own rules in place so that it can protect its own national interests. Therefore, we see a lot of times international law not being implemented. So It's a very important area of law though, because international law is here to stay in its in various forms. Either it will be implemented or it will not be implemented in some areas, but it is not going to go away. So it's a reality that we have to put up with.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, the international law, which is the main subject of yours, which you have been talking about all around the world, so that really attracts you?
Yes, it does, because it's a very dynamic law, Masroor. It's different from domestic law, for example, the local law of Pakistan or Britain or India or any other country for that matter, because the law is missing a very important thing which we see in domestic law, which is the writ of the state, the enforcement of the law. In international law, we don't have the sovereign, the authority to enforce the laws which we find in domestic law, and that makes it more interesting. As I mentioned earlier, there is always a crossover between law and politics. So the rule of international law will always come across a roadblock. You will have to use diplomacy to move that piece of norm or international norm across that roadblock. That makes it all the more interesting. That makes it all the more dynamic. It's not something that is as black and white as domestic law, and that makes it interesting. So I'll give you an example. I mean, we see countries wanting to impose sanctions on Iran because of the alleged covert nuclear program. Now,
Mhm.
we also see that it's not something written per se in a book of law like we find in domestic systems, but it's something that comes as a result of a push by the Western countries because they want certain results. So, therefore, law is being used in a way to further an agenda against a country which is alleged to be in violation of law. Now, the sanctions that are continuing against Iran, which happened after the nuclear deal was cancelled by America, is an example of international law in play. Similarly, we have different obligations on Pakistan. There are echoes of Pakistan, sponsoring terrorism by India, by other countries. So this again is a very interesting interplay happening between law and politics, and that to me is international law, and that to me is what makes it very interesting for a student of law like me.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed. That's wonderful. So, coming back to our second question, which is related to Pakistan, I would say that is, can you give us a little snapshot of Pakistan's obligations under international law?
Right. So we have a lot of obligations, Masroor. If you in my earlier mention, I did speak about the fact that we have the United Nations Charter, which is an international treaty or agreement to which all the countries of the world are a party.
Hmm.
So there are many obligations that flow from that international treaty. Then on top of that, Pakistan has individual agreements with different countries. For example, there are agreements between India and Pakistan on, the Indus, known as the Indus Water Treaty. Similarly, there are agreements between America and China. You name it. Any country in the world has agreements with other countries, or the countries are subject to a multilateral or a multi-party treaty like the United Nations Charter. So, to give you an example, there are resolutions passed by the United Nations Security Council in the past, which happened after the 9/11 attacks that happened in America, whereby countries were required to do certain actions, which included waging a war against Al Qaeda, handing over the assets and properties of the banned organizations. So all those obligations in a way came on Pakistan as well, not just Pakistan, but other countries also, but also on Pakistan. So this is just an example of how a multilateral treaty like the United Nations Charter has obligations that flow to Pakistan. Similarly, you would have heard about Pakistan being on the grey list of FATF. Now, FATF is an intergovernmental organization, which again is an organization which has a political flavor to it because there are powerful countries in the world that are parties to that to the FATF charter, and they are pushing to blacklist Pakistan. So again, Pakistan is trying to stay out of the grey list or move out of the grey list. Now, these are all things that are happening with Pakistan in the eye of the storm. So these are just two examples of how international law is going to be relevant for Pakistan one way or another.
Okay. But do you think Pakistan has been left behind in international community because of a lot of different reasons? It could be because of, we went through a lot of issues and problems in within Pakistan itself, so that's why we feel that we have been let down by many other people as well in the past, and now we feel that we are behind a lot of other countries in law or international law.
Right. I mean, actually a fact. I mean, what you mentioned is actually true because in the past, Pakistan has not institutionalized international law. There has
Okay.
been a general lack of awareness of Pakistan's international obligations. And it is for that particular reason that we are not able to respond as meaningfully as we should. Now, to give you an example, I mean, in Pakistan, for the first time, we actually have a new and proper narrative on Kashmir.
Mm-hmm.
To some extent, the credit for that goes to our neighbors who are conducting a program, or you can say they are the Hindutva brigade is making all the people in the all the Muslims in Kashmir or all the Muslims in India the target of their rhetoric. Now that has helped us to some extent because we are able to for the first time generate a coherent narrative against our enemy in Kashmir. Now, the credit for that goes to a great extent to the Prime Minister, who has used the word fascist, Hindutva, and created a parallel with the Nazis. Now, this is an example of how narrative is to be built. In the past, to answer your question, in the past, we did not have that. I think we have been sleeping over our duties, obligations, and rights, which has seriously prejudiced our rights under international law. Yeah, Kashmir is an example. Then there are other political, imperatives that there are other political areas also where we could have, managed things a bit better. We have not been able to do. So yes, international law has not gotten the due attention that it should have in Pakistan, and it is because of that that we are. It's because of our, general slackness in the past that we are facing a situation where we have to do all the groundwork from the very scratch. But in my view, Pakistan has made some positive strides since the PTI government came into power, but still a lot needs to be done for us to be, at par with other countries in the world.
Okay, that's wonderful. So come let us come back to another question for our viewers, which I would like to put across to you would be, why does Pakistan need international law? Do we really need it? And if so, has Pakistan been able to leverage the international law to its advantage?
Yeah. Also, we need it, Masood. We need it. We are going to be faced with international norms in various forms. It could be, as I said earlier, the United Nations Charter. It could be the FATF. It could be private contracts that we have. It could be regional agreements that we have. Whether we like it or not, and whether or not the law is used against us, we will still have to wriggle our way out of it. We will have to find solutions to our problems, and these are not going to go away anytime soon. Therefore, we need international law, and we cannot avoid it. What we need to do is we need to do capacity building of our professionals. We need to have a separate wing on international law in Pakistan, which creates, a proper systematic, education of international norms for our students, for our, stakeholders, for our politicians. And I'm not just talking about, rote learning, the RATA system that we have. We need to understand what all is happening around us, and we need to equip ourselves to be able to deal with the rules and the norms and the regulations that are being thrown at us. We can't avoid it as much, even if we don't want to face this storm.
Okay. As a follower and as a viewer, I have been reading all your articles, which you have been writing it down on LinkedIn and other platforms of yours. That is really amazing, basically, because whatever you feel, you have been sharing with all your audience and followers about your different articles you do. So the question I have is related to that itself is, what is lawfare, and something you have already written about a lot about, and how does it help Pakistan? And how does it help?
So look, yeah. So look. I mean, lawfare is again. I'll again try and make it as simple for the viewers as possible. Leading from our discussion on international law, lawfare is basically using law as a weapon of war. So,
Okay.
in the 21st century, warfare has been replaced to a great extent by lawfare. So instead of warfare, you see people, weaponizing law, using it against you, countries doing it against other countries, and lawfare plays out in various dimensions across the world. You will see, it includes, paving the way for a legitimacy. Lawfare also includes building a narrative. Lawfare also includes, filing cases at the right forums against the adversary to coerce the adversary to accept your viewpoint. This may sound sinister, but it's not as sinister or as evil as it sounds. Countries around the world use, law as a weapon, and they try to subjugate the enemy through that instead of firing a bullet. So one example of lawfare is the case between of Kulbhushan Jadhav that was litigated before the International Court of Justice.
Mm,
In a way, it was a partial victory for Pakistan because Kulbhushan Jadhav was caught by Pakistan in engaged in subversive terrorist activities. India approached the International Court of Justice and they sought his acquittal from the Pakistani authorities. Now, at that time, one question that Pakistan faced was whether Pakistan should accept the International Court of Justice's jurisdiction. Because Pakistan had the right, or Pakistan, for political reasons, could have avoided that. But Pakistan chose to go to the ICJ, fight out its case, and that was in a way a lawfare because India weaponized law to take Pakistan to the ICJ in the matter of Kulbhushan Jadhav, and
mm,
Pakistan chose to respond to India's arguments by going to the ICJ and giving counter arguments. Now, India wanted, the Kulbhushan Jadhav to be set free. That was one of the, the pleas that they had at the court. The court did not accept that. So, in a way, that was a victory for us, but they still wanted to have access, consular access to him, which they got. So it was a, that's why I said it was a partial victory for Pakistan and partial victory for India, because both countries weaponized law and they fought it out at the international court. Now you find many examples of countries fighting their battles at different international forums, and this to me is lawfare. Law is going to be the weapon of war in the 21st century, and we have to understand the nuances of law. We have to understand the different forums where we can fight battles against the adversary, and we equally have to be prepared to fight battles that are waged against us by our adversaries. So it's like a game of geostrategic, geopolitical chess, Masroor, that plays out, in the world, and we have to understand the importance of this for us to be, for us to survive and to prosper in this century.
okay. Mashallah, mashallah. I'm sure all the viewers are enjoying your talk about the international law, and I'm really so happy and excited to have you today. So, and a lot of people know that you're based in Oman and you're running a law firm over there. And I would like to bring to my followers and viewers notice that are you registered to run or practice your law in Pakistan itself? Are
Yeah,
you
so I'm getting there, Masood. I'm getting there. I have, set the wheel in motion, so to say. Soon you will be hearing about a few changes in my professional, journey, and that Pakistan, is definitely an option. It's a passion for me. It's my love. I mean, it's my first and last love. So I will be having a footprint, a proper footprint in Pakistan soon, and all things are pointing in that direction. Again, I'm not going to cut off my relationship with Oman because I've been here for the past 13 years and I have known the system inside out. But Pakistan is the next logical trajectory in my journey, and I will inshallah keep you posted. Of course, I'm not only we are not just connecting on a professional level; we are personal. We are very good friends. So I will definitely keep you posted on that.
Yeah, basically, Pakistan needs people like you who are so educated and who has a lot of experience and knowledge. And let my viewers know, guys, Mr. Hassan is a Harvard graduate, and he is a wonderful person and a great human being. I have been connected with him for the last since 2007 or 2006. We go a long way back. Our friendship and our family relations are so close with him. So, Alhamdulillah, he's a very wonderful human being. So, I'm sure I have mentioned his details in my YouTube channel in the description area, and you can connect with him for any advice or any solution related to the law. So please go and connect with him. He will definitely guide you in the right direction. Thank you so much, Mr. Hassan, to have you in my
Thank you,
session.
Masood. My pleasure, and thank you for your kind words. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Will
Love it.
definitely
Love it.
enjoy all your answers, what we had today. Thank you so much. It's
Sure.
really a great
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank
So,
you. Bye
would you
bye.
like to give a small shout out to about my channel to your followers and your viewers and my followers and viewers as well, if you like to?
Yeah, well, I think this is a great platform, Masood. You've made it very lively, very interesting, and keep doing what you're doing, inshallah. And this is great. I loved talking to you, and just go all the way, man. Just go for it.
Have you subscribed my channel yet? No, or not
Yes,
yet?
of course I have. Of course I have. Of course I have, and I'll ask more people to do that as well because of the work that you're doing, mashallah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Really,
thank you,
thank you so
thank you,
much.
thank you. Take care,
So,
take care.
viewers, we had our guest, Mr. Hassan Aslam Shad, today, who was talking about international law and Pakistan's law. So, it was really a great honor for me to have him today. Thank you so much for watching this channel
Thank
today,
you.
and please have a great day, great weekend. So, stay safe, stay healthy during these difficult times. Thank you so much. God bless you all.